This dead-end street, what I call the road to nowhere, was never supposed to be the focal point of the layout. I didn't choose it, it chose itself. It's the first thing people notice when they lean in to take a closer look, before they spot the rolling stock, before they examine the details on a weather locomotive or trace the mainline track. Their eyes go straight to that little strip of plastic pretending to be a road. And you know what? It makes perfect sense. Not everyone who visits my layout knows trains. Not everyone understands turnout numbering or can tell the difference between a GP7 and a GP9. I know I can't. But everyone knows roads. We drive them every day. We wait at red lights. We get stuck behind school buses. A road is familiar. So when that road looks just right, when its width feels realistic, when the lane markings are worn in all the right places, when it has that lived-in, traveled-over texture, it gives the viewer a grounding point. If the road convinces them, then the rest of the scene can fall into place. And now, having accidentally created a focal point, I found myself facing a problem. How do I finish it? How do I guide the eye and keep it from falling off the back of the layout? How do I make this stub of asphalt lead somewhere emotionally, even if it goes nowhere physically? Enter Boomer Diorama. Now, Boomer needs no introduction. If you spent more than 5 minutes on YouTube looking at model railroading, you've seen his work. And if you haven't, stop this video right now and go get inspired. Boomer is, in every way, the modern-day Michelangelo of styrene and brass wire. His trees don't grow, they pose. Even the simplest patches of dirt he spreads between his ties look better than most scenery kits. Boomer is the refined, classy, and sophisticated gentleman. I am the ogre beneath the bridge. Speaking of, there's a particular series on his channel where Boomer builds a bridge, and not even a full bridge, just a slice of one, a hint, a sliver, the idea of a bridge. And yet, somehow, that little section managed to capture all the hallmarks of bridges from a specific time and place in Canada. It wasn't big, but it was iconic, and when I saw it, I thought, I know that bridge, I've seen that bridge, and I believed it, because Boomer's attention to proportion, line, and tone turned a fraction into a focal point. It grounded me. In my mind, it made that place real. And here I am standing in front of my own sliver of space, wondering, how could I possibly follow that act? How do I build something that even holds up under passing glance, let alone close inspection? Should I even bother? What if people comment that my work sucks? I mean, I've never done this before, so it most certainly will. So is it just fear of hearing the obvious, or that hearing it might hurt? There's a vulnerability in showing your work, not just the fear of critique, but the sting of honesty when someone else echoes the doubt you already carry in your heart. Maybe that's the real risk of sharing, not that someone will break you down, but that they'll confirm what you already whisper to yourself. And still, some part of us wants to try anyway. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why can bear almost any how." Yes, agreed. But Nietzsche also said a lot of things that made people want to quit. So instead I turned to someone gentler, Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers once said, "Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else." That feels right, that feels honest. It reminds me that the mess, the failure, the broken glue joints, these are not signs of stopping, but signs of starting. So I press on with wobbly cuts and glue-covered fingertips. My buildings begin as lumps of leftover plastic, someone else's bits of kits that would never finished, offcuts from someone else's previous projects. I don't cut in straight lines, not because I don't want to, but because I genuinely can't. My Dremel tool, which I proudly refer to as my precision cutter, has a habit of chewing rather than slicing. Sanding is less a technique and more of a lifestyle choice. If Boomer is a surgeon, I am the butcher. Yet, somehow, in spite of all of this, the structures come together. They stand, not perfectly, not symmetrically, but convincingly. And then something magical happens. I start placing these misshapen creations onto the layout, and the world around them starts to respond. The green factory in the background, these two new buildings cobbled from scrap, suddenly feel like they've always belonged there, like they've been telling a story all along if only we have been paying attention. There's still a noticeable gap between the green warehouse and where the road would have continued. I could have followed the obvious path and built a level crossing, but the road ending abruptly, the road denied by concrete, the road to nowhere, tells a more interesting tale. It whispers of change, of a time when cars mattered more, and now maybe a little less. Should I block off that gap with a wooden fence, corrugated metal? Please leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely undecided. It could use your expertise. At this stage, things are beginning to look, well, not finished, but believable. These buildings, despite their rough starts, feel like they belong. They still need weathering, signage, maybe some rooftop details, but the bones are there. They look the part. So maybe this isn't about comparing myself with Boomer. Maybe it's about recognizing that Boomer got this good by failing 1,000 times before he ever posted his first video. How many failures do I have? Just one, right here. And is it really a failure? The brickwork turned out sharp, the color scheme works, the proportions, despite the clumsy beginnings, feel solid. It's not a masterpiece by any level, but it's a glimpse, a promise, a whisper of what could be. Maybe the trick isn't to aim for perfection. Maybe the trick is to show up and try. Maybe we will pleasantly surprise ourselves. There's something to be said about courage here, about taking that first step to share what we've done with others despite knowing it may not be the best. Maybe the only real requirement to make something beautiful is to believe that you can, and to keep going even when the cuts aren't straight and the glue won't dry. These little Victorian facades, they're a quiet tribute to my previous layout where everything was supposed to echo the Victorian era. But here, they do more than mimic the past. They tell a deeper story. Just like Boomer's bridge, a sliver that hints at a grander structure, these facades hint at a history that still lingers, even if its glory days have passed, turning these structures not as primary characters, but as supporting ones. So we arrive at a kind of ending, not perfect, not polished, but real. Not the one I planned, maybe, but one I built. And for a road that goes nowhere, maybe that's enough.